In this video, I'm going to review Omega XL, which is a supplement designed for joint pain and inflammation. But is it really worth the money considering that it's much pricier than a typical joint product? Are there any chances that it is a scam? Well, I analyzed this supplement in detail, especially for this video. So here's my Omega XL review. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel after a long while. I'm Molly from MySupplementAdvice.com doing supplement reviews and health tutorials on this channel, so make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss out any of my free advice. And also, you can find this full review on my website, and I will leave you a direct link to it in the description box. Back to Omega XL, here's what I'm going to be covering in my analysis. I will start with a short summary on it, and then I will continue looking at its features in detail, from its claims, producer, formula, and up to its price. So if you're ready, let's get straight to the point. First of all, Omega XL is a omega-3 supplement designed for inflammation and inflammatory pain. It does work for joint pain, but only if it has an inflammatory cause. In other words, if we're talking about swollen joints or autoimmune forms like rheumatoid or psoriatic arthritis. If you have osteoarthritis, which is by far the most common type of arthritis, or if you have cartilage problems, cartilage damage, or cartilage tear, well, in these cases, it's not going to help you much. But anyway, Omega XL has both positive and negative sides, and the best thing about it is that its main ingredient is clinically tested, so this is an advantage that you don't see in every product of this type. Still, it has way more downsides than advantages, if you ask me. It requires a high number of pills per day, it's really expensive in the long run, and it also has a bunch of unsatisfied users behind, which tells a lot, in my opinion. For these reasons, I don't consider it a wise choice at all. It's really not a scam, but it's not a product that I could recommend either. Instead, I personally recommend a cheaper alternative with a super strong composition, and I believe that would be a much better choice as an omega-3 supplement compared to Omega XL. I'm going to tell you more about that alternative at the end of this review, so stay tuned if you want to make the best choice. This being said, let's start analyzing Omega XL, and the first chapter that I'm going to cover are its claims and producer. The thing that caught my eye initially about Omega XL is that it claims to be better than most fish oil supplements. How? Well, according to its promises, it's made from 30 different fatty acids. It contains 22 times more omega-3 acids than regular supplements. Its pills are smaller and much easier to swallow, and it also has over 30 years of research behind. Now, I'm not saying these claims are fake or anything like this, but I personally don't consider Omega XL better than most fish oil supplements, and that's because of its negative reviews and because of its very little detailed formula. But more on this a bit later on when we analyze each of these two chapters. As for its producer, Omega XL is made by a brand called Great Health Works. I'm not very familiar with it, but apparently it has about 15 other products in its portfolio, out of which Omega XL is their best rated supplement. Anyway, the brand gives out a lot of contact info on their official website, so I personally believe it is a legit company. When it comes to its composition, Omega XL has three major problems if you ask me. It's only based on one mix of substances, so it basically has only one ingredient. There's no info about the exact dose or quantity of the omega-3 fatty acids it contains. And lastly, there's no dose for every ingredient inside the mix, only for the overall mix. I've seen this in other products that contain mixes of ingredients, and it usually happens when the ingredients inside the mix have very low doses, so the producer is somehow trying to hide this. That's why I don't really agree with this kind of strategy, and I would like to see the exact dose for every compound. Still, the mix from Omega XL has a study behind, which means that it's clinically tested and that it's a quality ingredient, but even so, for me that doesn't really compensate for all the other issues it has. Now let's take a closer look at its ingredient, as there's only one. It's called Green Lip Mussel Oil Extract, or PCSO524, and it's a trademark ingredient, which means it's original and it contains superior versions of its compounds. Now, the mix itself is an oil extracted from a species called Perna canalicularis from New Zealand, and it has some really strong anti-inflammatory properties. So what exactly does it contain? Well, it's made from 3 ingredients. Omega-3 fatty acids, which are very effective against inflammation, extra virgin olive oil, which also has some anti-inflammatory properties, but they are much weaker compared to omega-3 fatty acids, and there's also D-alpha tocopherol, which is nothing less than vitamin E, and it is a great antioxidant. Honestly, out of these 3 ingredients, it's only the omega-3 fatty acids that do the job in terms of effect. The other 2, olive oil and tocopherol, are even listed as non-medicinal ingredients, so they basically have no effect in terms of relief. But as I told you before, Omega XL doesn't give out the exact names of the omega-3 fatty acids it contains because there are a bunch of them out there and not all of them have the same effect and intensity. But it also doesn't give out their doses, which is even worse because it's an essential fact. It only mentions the overall dose for the whole mix, which is 300 milligrams, but we're not told the exact percent of omega-3 fatty acids from that mix. So this is a big question sign for me. And concluding this, I don't think Omega XL's formula is a scam, but it's not amazing either, considering that it hides a lot of things and it doesn't seem very potent to me after analyzing it. So it's probably not the kind of composition I would recommend as an omega-3 supplement. In terms of dimensions, Omega XL claims its pills are smaller, yet more powerful than regular fish oil capsules. I'm not sure I completely agree here, but anyway, these pills are indeed formulated as soft gels, not as capsules, and they are smaller and lighter, which makes them easier to swallow. And also, the producer says they have no fishy aftertaste, which is up to you to tell. Anyway, the biggest problem at this chapter is Omega XL's dosage, or the number of pills you have to take per day. That's because the instructions are very unclear if you ask me. So according to the label, the serving size is 2 pills per day. This means that you should normally take 2 pills every day, right? However, it's the same label that recommends a different approach. It advises users to take 1 or 2 soft gels, 1 up to 3 times every day with meals. So basically, the minimum dosage is 2 pills per day. But if you want the best results, you should normally take the highest recommended dosage. Do you agree? This means 2 pills 3 times a day, which is a total of 6 pills per day. At least this is what I understood from the label. You can also take 2 to 4 pills every day, but the results won't be the best in this case. This is my conclusion after reading the directions. And honestly, 6 pills per day is way too uncomfortable, let's face it. So I'm not going to recommend you a supplement that requires such a high number of pills every day. In order to see how Omega XL works, I try to analyze other people's opinions on it. And the best way to do this is by looking at its Amazon reviews, which are known to be real and made by actual users. Now, Omega XL has an average rating of 3.8 stars out of 5 on Amazon, which isn't a bad number at all. But the problem is that most of its 5-star reviews are either very brief or they have no words, just the stars. This is what made me question them a little bit. I did manage to find some longer reviews eventually, so here are some examples. Some users claim it helped their arthritis, others say this supplement made them feel slightly better but not as well as they expected, and a few others mentioned that it helped with their stiffness. On the other hand, the negative reviews I found on Omega XL are actually very detailed. And very important, on the first 2 pages from Amazon, 90% of the reviews there are negative, so this is a major issue. Most of these reviews rated the product with 1 star, which shows that the users behind them were really unsatisfied. So here are some examples that I found. And most people complain about stuff like absolutely no change or effect, extremely high price for the dosage and quantity, about the fact that you need to take way too many pills per day, that there's no clear recommendation about the best dosage. It's between 2 and 6 pills per day. That's exactly what I said. And I also found some complaints saying that it has a bad smell and taste. The company claims the opposite, but apparently it's not true. So basically, Omega XL has a huge rate of negative reviews and most of them are very detailed, so they are clearly real. On the other hand, its positive reviews are very brief and very rare, so considering this, I couldn't possibly recommend Omega XL. To be honest, I personally would not buy it in these conditions, that's the point. From this point of view, Omega XL seems like a very safe product. I couldn't find too many complaints about its side effects, which is a very good sign. Now, typically, fish oil supplements don't cause side effects on a regular basis. They mostly cause stomach cramps or digestive issues, but those can be prevented if you take the pills while or after eating. So that's exactly what I recommend you to do with any supplement of this kind. This is definitely the worst part about Omega XL because considering its quality, quantity, and value, I feel like it is way too expensive for what it should be. Its lowest price is probably on Amazon. The standard cost is $75 for a 60 capsules bottle. But since we're talking about Amazon, you probably know that there are discounts there very often. So most of the times, Omega XL costs around $50 per bottle and shipping is free in the US. Now, paying $50 for a 60 capsules bottle seems way too much for me. It's true that its formula contains a trademark which is usually pricier, but even so, I feel like it is way too expensive. In my opinion, it should cost somewhere around $30 per bottle as a fair price. Anyway, that's not all. As I already told you, the label recommends taking between 2 and 6 pills per day. We can't really tell which is the best number, but we assume it's 6 because if you want the best effect, you should take the highest dose, right? Anyway, one bottle is meant to last for 30 days, but this only happens if you take 2 pills per day, so the minimum dosage. If you take more than 2 pills per day, one bottle is going to last a lot less. Basically, it can run out in as little as 10 days. If you want the best effect, it's recommended to take 6 pills per day, and in this case, one bottle is going to finish in 10 days. Keep this in mind before buying this supplement and make sure you afford paying more than $50 per month for it. As I told you, I don't think it's worth it considering all that, but it's totally up to you, it's your decision. Here's how I would sum up my opinion on Omega XL in 3 ideas. Firstly, it claims to be better than regular fish oil supplements from the market, but considering the facts I showed you before, I pretty much doubt it is. Secondly, it has some very unclear directions. I still don't know which is the recommended dosage. It's somewhere around 2 and 6 pills per day, but which exact number? And lastly, it is way too expensive for its actual value, especially when there are so many quality fish oil products on the market for much lower prices. So, is Omega XL worth the money or not? Well, my honest opinion is that it is not worth the money. It's really not a scam. I know some people say it is, but I personally would not go that far since it does work for some users, so it does help some people. But even so, I don't consider it a wise choice at all. Considering all the flaws it has that I showed you throughout this video, well, considering that, I couldn't possibly recommend it. It's totally up to you whether you decide to try it or not, but I would surely not recommend it. But as I promised you from the beginning of this video, I have a better alternative to Omega XL, and I'm talking about the best omega-3 product that I know, a supplement called Optima Omega 3 from Nuzena. This product is my top choice in terms of quality per price because it has the strongest type of formula and composition I know for the lowest price I could find on the market. It also allows you to pay in monthly installments, which is a really big advantage for those of you who want to try the product but you still can't afford paying the full price at once. I actually have a more detailed review on that supplement where I show you how to get it much cheaper than it actually costs because its standard price is $30, but you can get it for about half of that for around $15 per bottle. So I'm going to leave you a link to that review in the top right corner. If you can't see it, it's fine, don't worry. I will also leave you the link in the description. Just check for the term alternative and you will find it there. So check out that video if you want to see the best alternative to Omega XL, the best alternative I know at least. Now I'm waiting for your opinion on Omega XL, so if you ever try this supplement, please let me know how it worked. It doesn't really matter whether it's a positive or a negative experience, I still want to hear it out. And if you did not try it, would you be willing to do it, or you would rather go for the alternative that I recommended? I'm waiting for your opinions in the comments below, so please let me know what you think. That's pretty much all for today. Thank you for watching my Omega XL review, and hopefully you managed to find out enough info about this supplement. Well, until next time, take care.